Hey guys, welcome back again to lesson 2. So we've done with lesson 1 and you're probably coming from there, and thank you so much for your support. Please like this video if you find it helpful. So essentially on part 1 we're doing just the front end part of it. Just a quick recap. We did 3 pages, a few pages, I don't know if it's 3 or something. Did the sign up, the landing, the forgot password, and then everything takes us back to the homepage, but no backend was actually generated at this point. But now we are going to edit. I'm going to use Firebase as my backend as service, and if you want to use something else, you can literally like just use your own backend to authenticate your users and use just the front end. But here we are dealing with the Firebase. Let's start with setting up our Firebase project inside our Firebase. Right, so on your browser, go to firebase.google.com. You will see this page. Go to console page. You must be signed up. So I've logged in there, as you can see. So if you don't have an account set it up, you'll see that icon there. It will have your profile. So you'll see the project place. So you say enter. I'm gonna type in like the name of the project. So let's get started with the name of the project. I'm gonna call this like an auth example. Just give it the name of your app, like something very reasonable. Okay, so you can enable Google Authenticate for the project or not. It's just the same if you use it now or not. You're gonna select the account. So I'm just gonna select default account for Firebase, and I'm gonna go on and say create project, and it's gonna take a little bit while. Also depends on your connectivity. So this will set up everything that we need, all the services of Firebase that would need for our project. And then after it's done, it's going to give us the setups that we would need for us to put in our project, right? Right, so your new project is ready to continue. It will go to console log, not console log. This is our project here. For that project is iOS, Android, Flutter and stuff. We're gonna use the web as for Ionic works with web. Right, so nickname for your web app. Now this is, you could just type in like I'm gonna call this auth Ionic. Right, so you can have multiple projects connected to this one project. I can have an iOS of Flutter project connected to this one, but you need to do setup, right? So I'm gonna click OK. You can also set up Firebase hosting. For now, I'm just gonna skip it, and it will generate us all this. So if you're ready, you start doing the npm install Firebase, and then you add this configuration setup here. Okay, so if you scroll down, you will see this is the only part that we need for our Angular app, this part. So I'm going to show you how to add all of this so that we could initialize our project into this project into our Ionic app. So, all right, so now okay, so now we have this project started. If you have okay, so I'm gonna go to my settings to get my project details. If you don't have this one, if you missed it in the setup part, you can still find it under settings, project settings, and then you go down here, you'll find the settings here. Choose the npm. You can have it in a cdn or in a config. So basically what we need is just this part. So we're gonna need config to this part to connect to our project. So I'm gonna copy this. This is the same thing that you get on the setup process that we just had now, just in case you close it and you just miss the settings up here. So remember, my API key are my own, so it won't matches with you. Everything here it's set up for my own app, and yours will have different values on the right side. So we are going to start on the environment file. So go to environment, you'll see the environment folder there. You go to environment.ts. And then remember, now these are the setups that you will put on your own app. And remember that the API keys are private for you, so make sure whenever you publish this, you hide the keys so that people cannot hack you, right? So I'm gonna say this and just paste that there. You will see it gives us a problem because of syntax, how it is. So I'm gonna start with that part, and instead of equals to, I'm gonna put um, this what is this, yeah, that and then I'm just gonna remove the const, right? So I'm gonna save this. Now this is configuring this two part, the Firebase as well as your project, but then you don't end there. You need to declare it under the model page. Remember that almost everything that you do, you need to declare it on your model page so that it just understand that, hey, look out for me, right? So on your model page, you are going to import environments. So I'm just gonna close it a little bit here. You are going to import the Angular Fire model or Angular Fire auth model. You are going to import the Angular Fire model. You're on to initialize the environment as well. Right, so before that, I hope you understand the Angular Fire, the Angular, what is this? The Angular authentications and Angular, not Angular authentication, the Firebase authentications, how they actually work with Angular. So first, you're also going to install the Firebase, the Firestore, the Angular Fire, rather. This is the library all about the Angular Fire. So you need to add Angular Fire, ng add Angular Fire into your project so that it could understand the things that you would need. Other than that, use the npm to install it, right? You would need this, and as you see, this is how they actually import it onto the project so that it can actually work with authentication. Now Angular has different packages. I haven't explained to that. Inside build here, there's authentication, there's Firestore authentication. It actually for the users, all the users that are there will come into this part. So when it stores the users, it goes to authentication. It has SDKs that will manage users from when you authenticate them with a variety of providers without a server-side code. And then there's Firestore database is real-time database. They're basically the same, but they have different advantages, and depending on the type of project you're building. The storage is where you put all your assets like videos, recordings, and images. And in hosting, that's when you just want to host this app so that it could be available to the public. And functions are actually, yeah, a bit complicated, but actually they run a back end to your project to say what should happen whenever a user interacts with your project. And they also have like machine learning and some of the cool stuff, but we are dealing with authentication here. So you'd see that normally would do is use the Angular Fire auth. Angular Fire auth deals with the users of the actually Firebase, and yeah. So right, so I'm gonna copy, go to my terminal, and I'm just gonna add a new terminal because the other terminal, this one, is running my server. And then I'm going to say ng add Angular Fire, and then press enter. It's a little bit slow, but yeah, it's running. And then it's gonna install everything that we need, the packages that we need for our Ionic app to communicate with our Firebase, right? So going back here, we can say get started. You click get started on your authentication. Right, let me just expand this a little bit. So there are different ways to authenticate your users. As you have seen apps, you normally use email or email and password, or authenticate with phone, or you can just have users use your app without registering, which it means it's anonymous, but you can still track what users are doing. So hence you have to just use the anonymous way of signing your users. So Google, we have Firebase. Those are additional providers. Firebase, Facebook, Play Store, Play Games, Git, Twitter, Yahoo, and then there's also like a custom-made providers. If it's actually you have another server, you can use the custom-made one. So for this example, I am going to use the email and password. To use email and password, you need to enable it. So I clicked on it. I need to enable and click here and press save. If you have not done that and you're trying to do email and password, it will give you an error or something. So you need to enable that. So there's a part of also like email link, passwordless sign in. If you just want a user to put their emails, and then they have to go to their email address, your email inboxes, and get the link to sign in, then you'll have this process. And then in advance, there's an SMS multi-factor authentication. You just know that already. When you want to tighten up your security, you can actually have like the SMS multi-function authentication as well. So I'm just gonna save this one here, and email and address is enabled, so I'm able to use it. You can use multiple ways. You can use email and password or Google sign in one app, so you can add another one here, but in this example I'm just gonna use this one. So there's an error here. Let's see what it says. Fetch error npm to update. Okay, I don't know if it will give me a problem, but I think my npm is outdated, so hence it just complains about that. But I'm not gonna waste time into dealing with that. But if it actually give me a problem as I'm coding, I will then fix it up. So let's go. Under import here, I'm just going to write at the end, add my Angular file. Let me just say enter so that it could just be a nice way for you to see. So I'm gonna say Angular fire. Okay, so let me start by importing it. Angular fire. Let me start with module from at Angular. Okay, I think we'll see. If it doesn't show, it means that the setup didn't go well. Angular fire compat. So it actually has a problem. Can't find model, probably because it did not install the package correctly. Run npm install to update. Let me try updating this. Last time when I did this, it did not have any problems, but usually now when let me do npm install. Usually when some things are updated, could be on the Firebase side or Ionic side, you will get like errors of things that are not working out well. So I'm gonna start again using installing. I did do the ng add Angular fire. The package Angular fire will be installed. Would you like to proceed? Yes. Right. So now you will see this process. I don't know if you can see properly here, but it says what features would you like to add on your setup. So you could use and you could just enter you could just enter by doing the space So we want the authentication. We can do the Firestore as well, but I've explained all of those packages, remember, on the Firebase and how they work. So I'm just going to use the authentication, and then I'm just going to say move enter. So it's going to do hosting, authentication, and Firestore. So it says which Firebase account would you like to use. Let me see. Okay, but anyway, let me see if this will work. But it has stopped you. It has stopped the error here. Let me see now if I can continue with this without any errors. But if it authenticates back, I'm just gonna go back. Right, so we have our setting there. Now we have to import the Angular Fire, Angular Fire, as well as the. So now I'm going to import my Angular Fire model, and it won't give me any problems. So I'm going to say Angular Fire model, as well as Angular Auth. I will import it here. Angular Fire. From okay, let me use compact auth. So you can go ahead and add Angular store, Firestore, but I'm not gonna do it now because I'm not using in this tutorial. Now I am going to add my environment. So I'm gonna use Angular Fire model dot initialize app. We had it on our environment. Was it prod? Environment dot Firebase configuration. Now this will call in our environment here and do this setup right here. Okay, so we are going to say now that we have everything there, we will have a page we're gonna have a page that will take care of the everything for the backend. So I'm going to just trying to make sure that you could see the bottom part here, because I don't think you can see what I'm typing in my console log on my terminal. Right, so on my terminal I'm going to create a service page inside my app. So I'm gonna say source app. Okay, so I'm gonna say Ionic generate service. The service is, I'm gonna call it authentication. This will have everything that I will need for what is this? Created. Where is it? Okay, there, down there. So here I'm gonna put all of the SDKs that you would need for connecting. So this part here, I'm gonna close it here, and we are going to say, let me close this for now. We want to register a user before they can log in. Of course, they have to register. So I'm gonna import here on your service. Go to import. You're gonna import Firebase. Now Firebase is from add Firebase, compat app. And then now I'm going to import Angular Fire Authentication. It's from Angular Fire compat auth. And on my constructor, I want to use it, so I have to put it on my constructor. So I'm going to say public. I'm going to call it ng fire auth from Angular Fire Auth. Okay, so I'm gonna have methods of registering a user. So I'm gonna use async so that it actually make things easier for my users. So register, I'm gonna call this register user. Remember, they're using an email and password. This one I will pass it from my register page. They're gonna pass email and as well as password. So usually on the old Angular Ionic, this was correct, but now you have to initialize it. So you must declare it. Some of you would have errors if you're using the old one. No, the new one. So you have to say an email will be a string. I'm going to say password will be a string as well, so it's fine. And then from here I will say return await. Async goes with await. So I'm going to say this Angular auth dot. You will see everything that the authentication would have. These are the confirm password, create user. This is the one that we want, the SDK. I'm gonna click on this one. And this SDK, it says that it takes an email as well as the password as a parameter. I'm gonna use this one that the user will give. Will give. So I'm gonna use email and password here. Let me see. Argument string is not assignable to string. Okay, this is not Java, guys. So it has to be small letter string, right? So we are sending this back to the back end on our register, right? So let me continue doing the other functions. I'm going to say login user. Okay, it takes an email, password, right? So okay, string as well, string, right? So I'm gonna return and await this dot ng auth dot so this is create user with email and password. Now to log a user, you are going to use the sign in so the sign in anonymous and stuff like that. The packages I've shown you are there. So I'm going to use a sign in with password and email. I'm going to pass that email and a password that will be passed in this parameters here. And then another function we'll use is to reset the password. So I'm going to call in async and call this one reset password. So to reset a password, the user needs to give me an email. So this will be an email that the user will be giving me on the password reset password page there. So I'm going to say await, and here I am going to actually return it. I am going to use Angular Fire, this dot ng Fire reset password, send password reset email, send password right. So there's different ways to set the password. So reset the password is confirming password. There's verify password reset code. and stuff like that. So I'm going to use the send email reset password. So this one will just send an email to the user with a link and they can just reset it there. I'm going to close this a bit. And another one is async. What does the user do again? Sign out. Let's say they log out. So the user does not need to give me anything to log out. So I'm just gonna log them out here. So I'm gonna return await this dot Ionic Angular not Angular dot sign out. Let me see if it is a sign out there. This will do the job. And then we're gonna have, yeah, so we're gonna also have like getting a profile of the user. So I'm gonna say async get profile for a logged user. So when you register a user, they have like a profile where you can get their email and whatever they sign up with. So to do that, I can say get profile and then return. Oopsie. So I'm gonna say return. Await ng auth this. This dot ng auth dot is it current user? Yes. So dot current user will give us the user that has logged in. Remember, you can only get a profile of the user only when they have logged in. Right. So this SDKs, this all SDKs, as I've just, they're self-explanatory. You can get all the documentation here on Angular, not Angular, on Firebase. Okay, on Firebase, where do you go to get documentation? Okay, go to Docs. I'm gonna open it on the new tab. Build authentication. Everything that you will need about your authentication and the things that we have used, it's all here. All of here. You just click on the. You just click on the web. For Ionic, is you use the web. So the web here. You will get all the SDKs that we just did here. How they've explained how to use it, how they actually work. This is sign in with password and stuff like that. So let's carry on here. This I was just telling you where you can get the reference of everything that you would need. Right, so if we go back to our app, connection, okay, Ionic serve. Right, so on our, let me close other tabs here. Inspect element. Okay, I'm just gonna close this, close that, so we can have like a clean thing, so we could understand errors as they come and how we figure them out. Okay, let's go to our login, not sign up, because the user needs to sign up. Right, so on not sign up.ts, no, not this one. Yes, this one. I'm gonna work on this one. So to sign up, our user needs to give us the password and the email, and we need to get them from the front end to the back end and connect everything there. Right, so okay, now that okay, five, four, three, two. All right, now that okay, cool. So to do this, we all right. All right, cool. To do this, to get form from the to get everything that you need to the TS, we would need to first do the form. So form will also help us with form validate with like validating our input that the user put, so that we could secure the password are strong, as well as if they've inputted actually the correct email. So to do that, I will start by initializing a form. So I'm gonna call this a register form. So just call it reg form of type form group, right? Of form group, right? So it says assign, so it needs to be assigned. It's either can put a question mark here, or you could just assign it here, property reg undefined. I don't know. I'll probably read on it, probably because some of the new things that have changed, but in old days this would have worked. But anyway, on our constructor would have will have public. So on our constructor we'll have public form builder. We'll need a form builder form builder, right? So as you can see, it imports this. Make sure that it imports. So next we're gonna do on init. So this should register form our form. So this our form we need to say is equal to the form builder that we initialized here dot verb. This will help us do the validations that we need. Okay, so we're gonna do the controls. So we have what do we have? Let me go to sign up. So we have name. So we're gonna call it the name. We're gonna call it full name. Full name. Initially, it should be nothing on it, but if yeah, it should be empty at initial state. And then we're gonna say validators. Call validators from forms dot required. It means that this full name should be required. It cannot live empty. Okay, let's see. I missed this. The next part is when I call this email. So for email, initially it'll be empty, and then validators for email are different from the others, because first it has to be required. Let me do this so it could be neat, so it makes sense. First, it must be required. Validators also, it has to be an email. So this validator email, as you could see, it requires a control value plus the email validation test. So it does this whole thing for you. So we're gonna say email, or you're gonna say you can say this validator start. I think you probably would have seen this before somewhere. You could say this, and there's actually a pattern for an email somewhere in the internet. If you search for it, and then like maybe a 0 to 9 for a number. And it was a hash, a $sign, yeah, something like that. I'm not sure if it'll work. And then well, those are not pattern for email. Let's say you can say pattern for email validation. Where can I get it? Probably W3 School has that email pattern and the contact number pattern. Oh, this is for password. Is this for email? A2Z0. Yeah, I think this for email. So you just make sure that the email, somebody enters the correct email. Okay. Right, so we also going to have a password. So I'm gonna call this variable password. Since we're here, we'll just quickly get it. Password, initially there's nothing, I'm just use this as well. And then we're gonna call validators dot required, because it is required, and pattern validators dot pattern, so it checks that the password is correct. It has like must contain one letter, one number rather, one upper case, one and a lower case, and at least 8 or more characters. So this pattern checks all that for us, and we love it. Okay, and for password, I think that will be it. So it's required. Cool. I'll just close this. Comma. Right. So we also have the name. So for name, there's nothing like hectic about it. Just have to be required. We also have, yeah, I think that is it. I'm gonna save this one. And then I'm going to declare a control so that it sees everything. I'm gonna call this get, and then I'm gonna say error control. And this will return this rec form dot controls. Right. And then I am going to have here a function that when I click this button, it calls the sign up function. So I'm going to declare this function. I'm going to use async for it. I'm going to call this a sign up. When a person clicks on that button, it calls this function. And on the sign up, I am going to have a okay, I think I'm going to have a loader first. So I think let's have a loader, just a custom made, just like an already a loader controller from Ionic. But if you like, you have a nice controller, that a library somewhere, you can use that, a loading controller, né? Loading, that will just show that spinning thing as a person click. When the person clicks on loading, click on this sign up, it shows the loader. The loader just makes it a nice UX for a user while the backend is still running. So loading controller is from Ionic Angular. Just imported it here. So I'm gonna say when the person signs up, when they click on the sign up, I will want for the user to first see the loader. So I'm gonna call this loading is equals to await loading controller dot create. Secondly, I will say await loading dot present. So this shows the loader, and then I'm going to say if the form is valid. If this register form dot is valid, then you can then talk to the backend. Otherwise, we don't even want to start the server until the user just makes a correct thing. So I'm gonna say const user. So if const user, I'm gonna declare it const user, and then say await this dot. Okay, so we need to declare and we need to use the authentication page. We need to use this method. So to use our authentication page inside here on the sign up page, I will call it, so public, I will inject it. I will call auth, I'm gonna call it auth service from auth service page, this one here. It has imported it for me. So I'm gonna say, all right, so auth service dot, now I'm gonna call register. Remember the function that we created there, it wants the email and the password. Right, so email and the password, I will call email and password. Right, so it says, hey, I cannot find the name here. Is because we have not made the email and password from the HTML. Okay, so I'm gonna comment this for now and say here, I will then say this form belongs to that form builder that we created on the actual TS part, and then I just have to connect it to say, hey, you actually belong to this form group. So to do that, I will call form here, say it's equals to rich form from our TS. Can't bind form since it's a known property of form. I don't know. Let's say form validate. Okay, let's see if we have declared it. Rich, we did declare it. Let me see if I can remove this. Right. So as you see, it gives us this problem. The things that we needed to do is first, on your sign up model, here we only have the form model. You need to add the reactive forms model and put it here under the import Let's save this. When I come back here, it does not give me an error. Another error part that I didn't quite show here is, remember, it has an error here. So what you can add is first run this code. Let me clear this so you could see. Run this line on the terminal, npm install Ionic Core legacy deps, and then you'll find that you'll have this file ts. So under ts, so strict, move it to false, yours will be true. Compile, no, where's compile? And we scroll down here as well as strict template to false. Let me see another false. No, I think this one, no implementation, no implicit returns to false, and then you can have the thing correctly like that. Otherwise, everything is fine. Let's go back to our form for sign up. So first you register your form. So this is reg form. The next thing, you will have the form control names. So I have them here. So you say form control name is full name, form control name, email, and password. You add those. So where do you find those? It's this here, same names like that, right? So that they can know, it could understand which input belongs to what input. Let's save and see if we don't have any errors as we are going. We open this nicely. So sign up. Okay, now we have a problem. It says error, cannot find control name full name. I think it's an error spelled, yeah, so it had to be full name. Let's go to sign up. Now sign up is fine. What you're gonna do quickly, we are going to also show the validations, and then after that we do for the other pages as well quickly. So to do that, I'm going to add a text down here to just make this nicely so you could see that email, password, and other. So for this one, I'm going to add just a container here that will just have a text. So this container only shows on when a person clicks on here and they come here without entering anything. It should say, hey, this one is required. But otherwise it is, if you see, like my cursor is red here. So if it's red, it means it's not correct. Return promise observable. See. So it's gonna say it's an error. So if like this one is just required, if it's empty, it's red. But as you type in, you see the cursor is green. Here, if you see, let me just cancel this one. If you see it's red, unless like I make something of an email some sort, then it's fine. It does not even give us that error here. Password, I think, is it password? It was supposed to be required or something, but we are going to just quickly fix that up just now. Okay, so here, so to do that, we can add a message called there, say full name is required. Okay, so it says full name is required for this field, but we need to it to show only when a person has not entered anything, when it's wrong. To do that, I'm going to have an if. So ng if the form, ng form, what did I call it? The register form. Dot controls. So I'm gonna put a question mark here. Full name is attached. Let's see if it will have a problem. So you see it's not showing. So I've touched it and now it says it's showing. Otherwise, also if it's touched and if this register form dot controls question mark, so it should say, hey, it might be empty. Full name dot invalid. Also on the text, I am going to add another entry if let me do this quickly. Just copy this, paste it here. No, actually this one is for error control. So you say error control dot full name dot errors dot required. Remember this one, it has a validation of required. I'm gonna save it. I don't know why it's not showing. Let me see. Quickly check full name. The errors. There we go. So if I click now, it disappears. If I remove this, it appears. So we're gonna do for all the fields, and then we're gonna do the styling, very quick styling of it. So I'm just gonna copy this and put it under for the email part. So I'm gonna do an email container for the email. So what I'm changing here is email and email. See, I'm gonna change to email as well. I'm gonna take this, so for email I'm gonna have an iron text. That will appear if email is required. And then when I have another one, so we're gonna say email is required. And then when I have another one for another pattern of the email, if it meets the pattern criteria, then you can write here and say, so if you look at our email criteria, it should have this. So we're gonna have, say, email should be valid. Okay, and then we are going to test. So I'm touching the email, says email is required. If I do a wrong email, it says should be valid, and if I kind of do a proper email, it disappears. Cool. We move to the, just gonna copy all this. We move to, what is this, the password. Changing this password, changing here as well, password. Right, password has and is required, and then password pattern is there. So an for password, if we look at our password, it says it should be at least 8 characters. You should have at least one uppercase and a lowercase and a special characters. Okay, so we can add all of those messages. can say password should, okay, here it says password is required. Password must at least have one character. One capital letter, one number, contain 8 characters. Is it characters? 8 digit something. Right, let's see if this works. So password, touching it, going back, password is required. Right, so it says unexpected for the password form array. Let's look at our password. I think there's something wrong with password. Okay. This should be like that and have another closing tag. Let's see. Password is required. Let's say, okay, it must have one letter. Let's say I put password. No, it's wrong. Should at least contain a letter. I think the patterns are wrong. I'm not 100% sure with the person. We got it online. I think it's missing something like 0 to 8. Another bracket. Let me see if I add another bracket. And then I say 0 to 8. And I save it. Let me say password. There we go. Right. And that is it for how to form validate and validate. So I'm going to quickly add the stylings and then do all the pages as well. So let me just quickly close this. So for login, let me just copy and paste. Let me say this is a login form from form group to, I'm gonna copy this, paste it here, import this. Okay, add all the missing imports. I'm gonna save it on init. I'm gonna copy that guy. It here. We're gonna have login form validators. Add all missing. Okay, for login we don't have full name, so we're gonna have email and password. So I'm gonna remove that one, that guy, and we are going to have these guys as well. Login. Okay, save on our login XML. Right, so form here. Form group. Okay, before that I need to add the React model, the Ionic model. I need to add reactive forms module and import it here. save it, and here I'm just going to close this, and here I'm going to then call form group is equal to login form. Save it. Right, so same thing here. I'm gonna add login for email and password. Okay, so I'm gonna go to sign up HTML very quick. So I'm just going to copy the email part right underneath that, and the password part, the validation right underneath the password. Okay, now I'm gonna change to login form. I'm gonna change this little controls here. Okay, otherwise it's email, password, same thing. Let's test if this works. Under my email is required, should be valid at .com. Okay, password, pause. Great. Now I'm gonna go back to register the sign up while we're still actually busy with this one. So let's say now we want to use this guy, and we have like the email and the password. So remember, now we are connecting to the server and we want to use the register user. Okay, so we said here, if this form is valid, then we can go ahead and try our luck with registering this one. So to find value of email, we are going to call the form register form dot value dot email. Same thing here, calling this form register form dot value dot email. Right, but then okay, so we sent a return on our service. We send a return which is a promise, hence we are able to do the dot then at this part of our side. Otherwise we don't have anything here, but we can also catch an error. Here say error, so we could understand exactly when we're actually going wrong. So I'm just gonna log here error. It's very good to log your errors as you go so that you could understand where you're going, and if when you have the error message, you're able to actually understand where to begin with, like finding assistance. So I'm gonna dismiss this loading here when they're catching an error. Otherwise, if this gets a value, it will come to user. Let me remove the then and remain with the catch. So otherwise user will have information if this works well. So I'm gonna have an if statement if user has actually information, which means everything went well. I'm first going to dismiss my loading thing, and nextly I'm going to then use I'm gonna route to another page so that it means like, hey, you've logged in, go to home page. To do that, I am going to first inject on my constructor. I am going to inject the router for routing. Okay, so public, I'm gonna call it router. It is from router okay, it has imported it. So I'm gonna say, hey, you're done. It means you are verified. So navigate to, I think it is home. Say, okay, so if this works well, can you please navigate the user to actually the home page? Okay, we have an error. Else we're gonna log in, like provide correct values. Just want to see my problem where it is. Sign up, module console. Cannot find where. Line 8 imports log. I didn't import that. Okay, actually here it has to change, and I'm going to call the click so that it calls that method of signing up. Let's see. Sign up. Okay, so I'm gonna just have a demo mockup email, and here I'm gonna say password at 1 so that I can remember it. Right, so sign up, shows a loader there, and we are in. So let's just check if it went through. So if it went through, we should see a user here. So I'm gonna reload. So you see my user is there. It means it works well. For login, I will then go to sign in page and take all of this. It's basically almost the same. Go to here, await presents ng. So this one will be the login form. I'm gonna copy this. Reset password. Okay. Async. Reset password. Reset password. right? So I'm gonna call here first. I'm going to import the auth service page so that we can get that Firebase things where we had reset the password and it requires an email. So I'm going to declare an email here, any. So this email will be from the TS, right? So I am going to say email here, and here this one, not the TS, the HTML, right? Input, I'm gonna use the ng model to get the input value of the email. You can use the form and validate the everything there, right? So it says password research HTML. Okay, and here if it went through, I am going to say navigate. So I'm gonna have a route from router, and this dot route navigate to login. So this will just go straight to login. Otherwise, it should catch an error. So we could see where we went wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna go to reset. So if everything went well, it should say you look out for the email. You're gonna find a link. So I'm just gonna log it here. Say reset link sent. Okay. Okay, because it has more than 2 lines, we need to put it in the curly braces. Okay, so let's go to forget pass. Okay, so I need to call this in this button. Click is equal to this guy. Save. Reset password. tester@gmail.com. So it says there's no recorder. I think it's test because it says there's no person with this email. And everything went well. So you can see the message here says reset sent. Great. Let's say now we are on home page and we want to log out. That's the last part of it. I'm going to show you how to log out. So from here, underneath the home page, I'm going to have a async logout method. My goodness, logout. And here on the logout, I'm going to call the auth service where we have our logout. So this dot auth dot, we call it a sign out. So if this went well, we need to navigate a user to our home page, to the landing page or something. I need to install router. My goodness. From route. I'm just gonna call it route, okay? No, there's something that I missed here. Okay, let me just quickly check what I have here. It's from router. this one. So this dot route that navigates to the start point of our app. We can say it navigates to the landing, or it navigates to landing, or navigates to what do you call those, the login page. So I'm gonna go to HTML and I'm gonna create a quick button here, ion button, and when we click on this guy, it should call this guy here. I'm gonna call this a sign out. Right, so quick test at gmail.com, password at 1. Let's say sign out. Great, it did sign us out, and you can always catch an error to see where you went wrong. Great. And also here you can call you can have a user as any, and here say hey user, if a person has logged in, of course it will be auth get profile. Alright, so here you can like display this user detail, ion title, and here we call user. Great. User is an object, so you'd have to call user dot I don't know, user dot email to find the email. So now it won't work, so you need to find how to get the user email. But otherwise, that is basically it. We created this it's a long video, but we have implemented this. This is just signing in with email and password. There are other providers you could use. And so I will end my tutorial here. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And if you are returning, thank you so much for choosing me. I'll see you in the next tutorial.